Welcome to the lesson 4. The lesson 4 concerns the shape of the city and spatial planning. In the previous section, we have seen a classification of the approaches to spatial planning in Europe. Among these, the regional economic planning approach has the least impact on the urban form, while the land use management and urbanism approaches are those that are most likely to bring about a change in the urban form, as they directly affect its components, such as the system of public spaces and facilities, or the road and transportation system. In the specific urban context, spatial planning, as it now declined, deals with some challenges that are also pursued by the European Urban Agenda and that presents numerous traditional and new planning themes that affect the shape of the city. The themes are sustainable development, urban landscape, and urban resilience that we see during this lesson. This is a study by the European Committee of the Regions, Commission for Territorial Cohesion Policy and European Union Budget on spatial planning and governance within European Union policies and legislation and their relevance to the new urban agenda. In the table taken from this study, there are numerous examples of European Union competencies and activities with significant influence on spatial planning. For example, there are various important directives. The SEA directive, which concerns the assessment of the plants, the birds directive, the habitat directive, the flood directive, and many others directives in the field of energy, of competition, or maritime. There are also other policies that have a strong impact on spatial planning, for example, the cohesion policy, the rural development policy, the transport policy, or the Pact of Amsterdam. The first and most important theme is sustainable development. Addresses some major urban issues, ecosystem services and green infrastructure, the shape of the city's environmental system, the relationship with the external natural system, the transport system, density, etc. According to Williams, the physical form of a city, shape, size, density, and configuration of land uses can affect its long-term sustainability. This suggests that even in the compact city remains a dominant concept in terms of sustainability. There does not seem to be a single ideal urban form. On the contrary, the sustainable city, which is generally characterized by strong settlement networks, environmental controls, and standards of urban management and performance, can be a flexible concept obtained through many different forms in different places. Many discussions have developed on the issues, among which the one on the reduction of soil consumption that feeds the theme of the balance between open space density and building density, a theme already present in the planning of the late 19th century, is topical today. It also feeds the theme of urban ecosystems, declined in terms of interconnection and sites of natural patches in the urban environment, or in terms of ecosystem services. These elements indicate the importance of environmental networks and the interconnection with cultural networks at the city scale. On the left is the European Commission website on ecosystem services and green infrastructure. Green infrastructure is a strategically planned network of natural and semi-natural areas with other environmental features, designed and managed to deliver a wide range of ecosystem services such as water purification, air quality, space for recreation, and climate mitigation and adaptation. This network of green and blue spaces can improve environmental conditions and therefore citizen health and quality of life. It also supports a green economy, creates job opportunities, and enhances biodiversity. On the right is a European Commission study on building a green infrastructure for Europe, where you can be found the theory and practice of green infrastructures. The second theme is urban landscape. The theme of environmental sustainability also recalls that of the urban landscape, which in turn includes landscape quality, aesthetic values, sensitivity and change, the coherency of geographical and cultural identity of place. In particular, spatial planning practice place a very clear emphasis on the importance of the place, which in literature is a concept related to space, especially public space, as a key element of the urban form, on the importance of the character and local factor that characterize different places. In this sense, the concept of place values has been developing for decades, introducing other themes that concern the social sciences, such as the identity of places. These values of places refer to a very broad concept of urban landscape that can contribute to the identity of a city and which in turn can be significant in terms of the real estate market, as it can lead to high quality landscapes characterized by a high quality of life, thus also offering competitive advantages. There are also other main themes of the urban landscape, which broaden the traditional spectrum of conservation and protection of cultural and environmental heritage. There are, for example, issues arising from the informal fusion of urban and rural development at the edge of the city, or the interconnectivity between the elements of the landscape inside and outside the city. This is the city region concept. The last theme is urban resilience, an issue related to urban security considered in both physical and social terms, and therefore related to natural disasters and climate change, which requires a holistic and systemic approach. Urban resilience is the capacity of urban systems, communities, individuals, organizations, and businesses to recover, maintain their function, and thrive in the aftermath of a shock or a stress, regardless its impact, frequency, or magnitude. The city, through spatial planning and therefore in terms of prevention, can aspire to new states of greater resilience. This process of urban renewal and transformation calls for the strengthening of communities, social capital, infrastructures, technological capital, urban ecosystems, natural capital, institutions, and rules the governance. In particular, the planning of infrastructure and urban ecosystems determines actions that affect the shape of the city. For example, places resilience, urban ecosystems, infrastructure, that we see in the next slide. Places resilience, the shape of the places, and the structure of their connection play a fundamental role in the response to the violent disturbance of an urban system. The theme of places involves urban ecosystems, green and blue infrastructures, and infrastructure systems, the gray infrastructure such as energy, mobility, housing, and refers to the system of identity spaces that assume a primary role in the general system of open spaces. Urban ecosystems contribute to the quality of the urban environment and provide multiple ecosystem services and as such contribute to the well-being and quality of life in a city. They affect the city's open space system, typically parks and green or unused abandoned areas, but also other elements such as green facades, garden roof, etc., or bioarchitecture. It is important to underline that spatial planning, when dealing with urban ecosystems, must also take into account the regional dimension. For example, it must interconnect the urban dimension with the peri-urban and regional dimensions, with respect to the responsibility of cities to be nodes of a global connectivity system. Infrastructure. Adaptation of infrastructure, roads and public spaces, power lines, telecommunication lines, aqueducts, gas pipelines, etc., can further contribute to urban resilience. Their resilient characteristics are robustness and adaptability. Having a robust infrastructure means having an infrastructure that maintains its function over time regardless of the stresses and shocks. This is particularly true of strategic infrastructure. Having adaptive infrastructure means having infrastructures that provide services adapted to the social needs of today and to the social needs of future generations. The issue of public spaces is particularly important and cross-cutting. They need to be dimensioned to become emergency places or take on other resilient functions. Thank you for your attention.